Alright guys, good evening and welcome back again to more Tsukihime. Let's do this. Arcwade's resurrection reaches completion. The seventh holy scripture finalizes its transformation. Ciel takes up the siege ballista and channels every ounce of her magical energy into it.
主の皆において第七の死因よ、キヨ。
Well, holy cow, look at that. Death by execution. The holy scripture stirs with the power to shatter her soul. Ciel looks once at her target, then closes her eyes. One glance was enough to establish her trajectory. She need only look again when it comes to the fire. She switched to manual targeting precisely to avoid aiming at Arcwade until the very last moment. Locking up for so much as a second would alert her foe to her presence. Should that happen, the battle would be as good as over. Her only choice is to track Arcwade through her subconscious. The notion borders on absurdity. The nature of marksmanship is to cease breathing, become one with a weapon, predict the target's movements, and follow them by eyesight. Observation of one's prey from outside their effective range is not only a necessary condition, but the hunter's greatest advantage. One that is lost to Ciel. Instead, she is attempting to perform a long-range execution on a target she cannot see or even sense. How is this any different to firing wildly from the hip? The answer lies in the weapon. Her great bow is no simple trigger-operated machine. It is the root of a spirit tree, feeding on Ciel's magical energy to grow to monstrous proportions. Even now, half of her nervous system is devoted to stabilizing the forces swelling within its frame. The other half is spent restraining the gospel intoned by its surging magical energy. She mentally tracks her dwindling magical energy reserves, while holding her bow in check with sheer muscle as it bucks in her hands like a raging bull. Simply maintaining her stance is a feat of extraordinary precision, an act of formidable control. It is akin to firing a battleship's cannon on her own, performing every step with her bare hands. A split second before release, she exhales long and slow. Nerve she feels, but not doubt. Her maximum firing range is 5 kilometers. Next to that, a 500-meter shot is no more challenging than threading a bullet through the eye of a needle. Through her gloves, she feels the weight of her bow down to the ground. She takes note of the wind direction, her own physical condition, the rhythm of her heart. Minute adjustments to her muscle fibers account for each. In that moment, a true miracle graced this world. She whom the Holy Church called their bow. She whom even the burial agency That Devil's Den thought an anomaly unleashes her magnum opus. 0.2 pass from draw, to hold to release. Death given flight pierces the true ancestor's skull before its messenger even registers it leaving her hand. Such an unexpected upset, Arcwade could never accept. After all, she held the world in her grasp. She had been preoccupied drawing on the planet's life force to replenish what her vessel lost when its throat was cut. Yet even as she lay motionless, she saw it all. She watched 2 humans scurry away like insects, watched one climb a high tower, watched it produce a poisoned needle, measured its strength, gauged the threat it posed. The instant she moved, they would answer her. So she believed, and in truth that distant gnat emitted no telltale surge of hostility. Thus she chose to wake. Replete with power, she severed her connection to the planet. and stepped forward to welcome the coming sport. In that moment came the bolt from the blue. The arrow punched through her head, not at her foot left the ground, but as the impulse was hatched in her brain. An arithmetic shot of incomparable skill launched from the subconscious of a peerless marksman. Arcway may be the planet's own self, but she is not a god. As long as her foe is human, she cannot be fully divine. Her consciousness remained undefended, and now the bow of the church has shorn it away. Oh, she go for a second. She cocks the hammer, pulls back the bowstring. The hit to the true ancestor's head did not fell her, nor did CL intend it to. She first targeted Arcway's conscious mind. Now she will destroy the true ancestor's body before she regains the capacity for thought. Such is her path to victory. 2 shots, not 1. If CL had poured all of her strength into a single arrow, Arcway would surely have detected it subconsciously, aimed or no. For her first shot, she had to compress her magical energy to the finest motion, the briefest moment. Her plan has only one potential flaw: the possibility that her target never relied on thought. Having abandoned reason for brute savagery, her mind is immaculate as the driven snow. CL's reflexes kick in before she can think. The 500 meters between them are worth nothing. In the blink of an eye, the beautiful beast is on her. She got lucky she released a knock at the last moment. CL drops the twisted remains of her bow. Breathing heavily, she peers down from the edge of the roof to assess Arcway's condition. Her second shot made it by a hair's breadth. Fired from almost point-blank range, it sent Arcway crashing back to Earth. It was not, however, the coup de grace she had hoped for. All she did was line up the sights and blindly release the bowstring. It was pure chance that her arrow hit the mark, and even then it only landed a glancing blow. That one shot housed all of her magical energy, but it merely repelled Arcway where it had struck home. It should have annihilated her. CL catches her breath at last and retrieves her weapons. Mangled by Arcway's claws, the ballista is no longer of use to her. She'll have to rely on her remaining armaments, her assault rifle, the first cause of death, and her stake driver, a combination of the third and fourth. But her magical energy reserves have run all but dry. If an ordinary mage can generate 20 units of magical energy, CL can generate 5,000. She poured every last drop of her formidable reservoir into one single shot and missed. The mental toll of the error is incalculable.
無傷。今ので無傷ですか、アルクエド。
Far below, the true ancestor picks herself up from the wreckage of collapsed buildings. For a moment, CL's courage fails her. It's hopeless. The fight is hopeless. Just run. There's got to be another way. Something you haven't tried. Death is terrifying enough, let alone what Arcway could do to you. So just run. There's still time. Do it now. Take his hand and run for all you're worth.
いいえ、それだけは決して。勝負はここからです、アルクエイド。他のことならともかく、彼のことであなたには負けられない。
Bold move, CL. Very bold indeed. Steeling herself in the face of death, CL unveils her final gambit. She retrieves the apple concealed in her stake driver, a pulsing red fruit glistening like congealed blood. This is the last vestige of Vlad Archangel's curse. His idea blood, his blight upon the world made manifest. Oh, she's gonna eat it?
グローブの原理は育ちきっていない。これを口にしても新しい大魔術は編み出せない。けれど
Even in this formless state, it can still serve as fuel. Three principles stir to life within Ciel's flesh. With Vlov's idea blood acting as her new reactor core, her magical energy rapidly replenishes. Is there a drawback though? Oh, okay, there is. She will pay the price later when the shock catches up with her body. It will be a further step on her fall from human to monster.
セットコードガルガリ
She raises her hand to the highest heavens. If that is the cost, I'll pay it gladly, she thinks as she leaps into the night. Dust rises from the gorge between the buildings ahead. One last hell to brave, where all that awaits is death and a pale vampire's sneer.
グローブの原理が燃え尽きるまで3分弱
Oh god, there's a time limit?
せめてそれまでは持たせてみせる
Trailing excess magical energy like a stream of blood, the executor plunges into her final battle. Several minutes before the firing of the seventh holy scripture, at the heart of the distorting phenomena, the city dissolves, the city disintegrates, as though rejecting all of human history and technology, as though returning the earth to its natural state. The vortex of phenomena opens its maw to swallow the rude paradigm squatting on the planet's surface. She looks on indifferently. She feels neither pleasure nor guilt. Her thoughts are elsewhere, occupied by a single human. I hate. I'll kill. I love. I want. I hate. I'll kill. I love. I want. I hate. I'll kill. I love. I want. The pain of decapitation has long since faded. It is what came before it that torments her now. A loss more bitter than death. Her whole life she believed she wanted for nothing. All lay within reach, should she care to grasp it. But in truth, her omnipotence was simple conceit. Only when turned her down did she realize she had never possessed anything at all. For a moment, she even forgot she was a true ancestor. Pain, heartache, hatred, and grief blazed in her blood, but none held a candle to her anger. So she screamed, heedless of the true ancestor's code, heedless of the burden she imposed on the earth. I'll kill you. And she bent the world to her will through sheer rage. An act befitting a human, not an avatar of the planet. In disgracing her station, she forfeited the rank of true ancestor. A part of her grieves that loss solely. A part of her weeps and wails, protesting that if she had only remained alone, she would never have developed a human heart. But nowhere does she regret her fall from grace. Her scream was fueled by anger, but its aftertaste is that of joy. For how delightful this is, how novel. The cause of her downfall is clear as day. It is Ro's deception, now 800 years past. No, the breakdown he provoked was purely subconscious. There was no emotion in her ensuing rampage. This time, the change in her is more fundamental. Her first taste of emotion's sweet sting. A rainbow-hued dessert formed of the pleasure and pains of the heart. Something born not of the planet, but of her own breast, and all the more precious for it. I love him. I love him. I love him. I love him. The thought alone sets the night sky aglimmer. She had thanked the true ancestors for siring her, but the human who had given her what she never dreamed of having, with a word tore her down to her former self. An all-powerful tool meant only to be used and worth nothing otherwise. I never would have guessed Arkway loved him that much. In that moment, her inner world turned on its head, and so too did the outer world. She had been denied all that she wanted, so she denied all in turn. Her grief turned to fury, her love to hate. Thus she cast aside her newborn emotions. In their absence, only her original duty was left. Her first and only objective, Roa. I hate Roa. I'll kill him. For 800 years she has nursed these feelings. She need only do as they bid, and urge to scream will eventually fade.
So, 私はロアが憎い。ロアを殺す。が好き。が欲しい。ロアが憎い。ロアを殺す。四季が好き。四季が欲しい。四季が憎い。四季が欲しい。四季が嫌い。大嫌い。
Her mind grows muddled. Her thoughts come loose at the spine. The closer she looks, the more confused it becomes. So she decides to stop thinking. Considering her feelings, considering his feelings will only disorient her. She regresses to a more primal, more innocent form, pursuing her desires with the selfish abandon of a wild beast. She lifts her head, her regeneration complete. Her understanding of the surrounding world is total. The city's structure, her escape prey's whereabouts, the location of the insect lying in wait. She has it all at her fingertips. It's a fine day for a hunt. Smiling at the thought of the coming massacre, she takes a step forward. Or she tries to. She shoves a rocky slab aside and climbs to her feet. Struck by Sail's arrow, she reflexively counterattacked only to be shot down by a second. There's not confusion that flashed through her mind when the first arrow hit its mark, but the instinct to retaliate. She had resolved after all to be the true to her desires. A subconscious response to a subconscious attack. Now 2 seconds later, she comes to finding herself digging her way out of the mound of rubble. A dash of new color swirls in her anger-clouded heart. With a sigh, she looks up at Ciel atop a tower of stone. But this insidious pest had to ruin it. She's trying to upstage Arcway in her moment of triumph. Flashing her enemy a smile, she advances with purpose. Her every graceful step shrinks another 10 meters to nothing. She is bound for the southwest corner of the city. Her goal, needless to say, is a tiny school building, holding out against her phenomenal containment like a puddle of water in an oil sling. 1.5 kilometers separate her from the school. An idyllic evening stroll. At this rate, she will be there in 2 minutes. The school is quiet. It's been a few minutes since Ciel left. I draw my knife and take a few deep breaths, trying to ward off my headache and brace for what's coming next. Ciel will keep her word. If she said she'll keep me safe, I know she'll stop at nothing to protect me. Unfortunately, I'm just as stubborn. I don't want to lose her any more than she wants to lose me. Dude, don't tell me you're gonna leave the school. I gotta start thinking about my next move. Even if I can't leave the school, there's gotta be something better I can do than sit here twiddling my thumbs. A sudden thought sends me running up the stairs. In here, I'm as good as blind to the outside world. But from on the roof, I can at least get some idea of what's going on. Then I have one last desperate gamble to make. My odds of survival are low. Chances are my idea won't even work. Still, it's my only shot. You were given those eyes for a reason. A time will come when I have to make use of them. Somebody once told me that long ago.
ああ、そうだった。なら今がその時だ。きっとこれが俺の役割だったんですよ、先生。
I swallow my fear and steel my resolve. That's what this knife is for. Whispering a brief farewell to the time I've given and the people who have stood by me, I open the door to the roof. I emerge onto the rooftop. The clamor of the city is gone now. Even the wind is still. The world is perfectly silent. Robbed of the facades that gave them purpose, the buildings look like gravestones. I look toward the business district a kilometer away. The central park seems devoid of activity. Is their battle already over? Or is it yet to start? The night strengthens my vampiric eyesight several times over. The park is too far to see even if I squint, but I should be able to get a sense of the general... A blast of light illuminates the town. Sail's the first to strike. First, she opens up her foe from long range with a marksman's headshot. But as she knocks the next arrow to demolish Arcwade's body, a sudden explosion consumes her perch. That must be Arcwade retaliating. She launched herself that far in the second it took Ciel to draw another arrow?
でも相打ちだ。負けてない。
Their battle becomes a brutal melee. Ciel pushes her assault rifle and stake driver to their limits, trying to halt Arcwade's imperious advance. Less than a minute passes in real time, but to me, it feels like an hour. Ciel is holding nothing back. She wages total war, putting her body through an ordeal that makes fighting Vlad look like a warm-up. But Arcwade just keeps walking. Ciel's own flesh ruptures under her frenzied assault, but it seems to affect Arcwade no more than a light breeze. Again and again, her blood sprays and her bones shattered. Her rifle rains bullets, her formulae detonate, and her serpentine sword swings with suicidal resolve. And faced with Ciel's mightiest efforts, Arcwade brushes her aside with one arm.
その失望は間違っている。ここは感動する場面。
It's so weird that I can now hear his voice.
今の姫君に腕を振るわせると称賛に余りある。
My mind freezes over in shock. There's no one in the vicinity. No clamor of life rises from the hollow city. But I know where the voice is coming from. This signal exists solely within my brain, which means it can only be Roa's will. The question is, why can't I hear it so clearly now? Perhaps it just means that my time is up. This is no time to be conversing with voices in my head. Ciel has been incapacitated. Blows forceful enough to reshape the city strike her again and again. Immortal or not, she's going to be beaten into a bloody pulp if this keeps up.
素晴らしい。こんな奇跡起こり得る。
何が素晴らしいんだ。いい加減黙ってろ。お前に先輩の何がわかる。
I snap at my own confused delusions. Ciel's suffering is none of his business, and yet he replies to me with all sincerity.
状況を把握していないのはそちらの方だ。
No, I see our efforts just fine, dude.
あの空を見るがいい。
空。
Acquiescing to the stranger's voice in my head, I look up into the blackness.
なんだあれ。
50 kilometers overhead, great wheels glimmer in the stratosphere. The train of stars gleams like a blade of guillotine as the sun's light sets it aflame. Blazes firing lines converge on the pale avatar. A barrage of 7.62mm rounds, each powerful enough to blow a human limb from limb, licks at the vampire's lethal body. God, like a walking tank, man. The bullets might as well be drops of rain. In Arcwade's presence, reality itself distorts. Her internal mass, that magical energy known to mages as mana, swirls in great enough volume to warp gravity. Space bends to snatch Sail's bullets from their course. Not that they would have any effect if they didn't meet their mark. What nightmare is this, where unprotected flesh can deflect 7.62mm rounds with ease? What the hell is she made of? Blaze's assault gave even Blob pause. He shielded himself by freezing the water vapor in the air rather than weather it directly. Arcwade, however, does not so much as dodge. Alarming as it is to contemplate, she might not be aware she's under attack at all. With the fine control granted by her ideal blood, Ciel truncates a numerological incantation to discharge a surge of electricity. She compresses a spell that would normally take 10 full counts to incant into a single's breath, then does it again and again. But while each 2 million volt lightning bolt could blast apart any insulator, they do nothing to Arcwade. And as Ciel tries and fails to stop her, the town continues to fall under the true ancestor's spell. Whether a manifestation of Arcwade's singular nature, or simply her sheer power bleeding through, vines spew from her footsteps, spreading out to consume the city. It's like a scene from Watchmen. They cover the newly cleared earth, devour its disarray of gravestones, override all trace of civilization with the motive of the primal. Ciel sent flying 50 meters. The attack itself is crude, a simple strike with condensed mana. It is its nature, an invisible, imperceptible natural phenomenon that makes it terrifying. The difference in their standing, their authorities, is too great. Ciel must dance millimeters from lethal injury, finger permanently pressed to her trigger. Arcwade has no need of caution or finesse. All she has to do is direct her ire in Ciel's direction. The city will do the rest. The air forms great claws to gouge the executor from behind. The vines turn hard as stone to lash at her.
いいのシエル。もっと頑張らないとすぐにゴールに着いちゃうわよ。
The avatar of white laughs as she continues her procession. She skips forward, every inch of her body exuding delight. Ciel, meanwhile, is reaching her physical limit. While her magical energy springs forth unabated, the body that houses it is failing. Every few seconds her legs break, her limbs splinter. Her left arm snaps under the weight of her 1-ton firearm. Her bones crumble, her flesh tears, her organs rupture, quickly enough to outpace her curse of undeath. Both Arcwade's invisible assault and the exertion of evading it wreak havoc on her insides. 1 minute has passed since their battle began. Only 600 meters now separate Arcwade from the school. With both Blaze and her magecraft proving ineffective, Ciel forces herself to accept that her current situation, her weapon is too weak to finish the job. She must abandon a ranged approach. She exchanges cannon for sword. Now, is that wise? The third cause of death. Exsanguination. Forged from the bones of Phantasmal, its wicked blade is of the same nature as Arcwade. This would not be so easily deflected. With Tsuyo's magical energy behind it, it could cleave a tank in two. The only problem is its range. Even fully expanded and extended to the limit of its wires, it can reach 30 meters at most. Will she really be able to get that close? The vampire's lips twist into a grin. She senses her foe's intention and dares her to try. That challenge sparks Tsuyo to action. She leaps 10 meters in a single bound. In a heartbeat, she closes the distance to Arcwade, her great sword poised to strike. It does nothing. Blade pierces Arcwade's distortion field to sink its saw-like teeth into the vampire's tender skin. But it doesn't draw a single drop of blood. Its weight and magical potency are lessened by the gravitational distortion. Tsuyo will have to get closer still to land the blow. I mean, if she even can. 10 meters to Arcwade. She can go no closer. The nearer she gets, the more powerful and concentrated the vampire's invisible talons become. In our present state, Arcwade is a mana singularity, an enormous volume of magical energy condensed in a tiny vessel. Mana enough to form a world unto itself, even if only in conceptual terms, rages within her body as though she were a living star. Its colossal mass compressed into a single point. It's a wonder she hasn't undergone cosmic inflation already. To approach would be to enter the gravity well of a star. No human could survive the crushing pressure.
それでも近づくしかないでしょ。ほら、早く私を止めてみせてよ、シエル。
Tsuyo intensifies the magical energy surging through her veins, turning herself into a living steel. Her sword snakes out of the blink of an eye, and Arcwade's automated defenses knock it aside. Blue sparks spray as the heat of their contest sets the very air ablaze. Around them, ether decomposes on a molecular level. As their battlefield transforms into an ionized death zone, Tsuyo glances towards the school. 400 meters left. Approximately 2 minutes gone. Arcwade's pace has slowed considerably compared to the first minute. It's working. She's pushing her back.
なんて思った？鉄みたいに頑丈でつまらない女だと思ったけど、案外可愛いところがあるのね、シエル。
Arcwade halts her advance. She raises her hand to the sky. Sensing danger, Tsuyo vaults backwards. She knows it would be unwise to stay on the offensive. For the first time since their battle began, Arcwade has acted with direct hostility. The instant she moved, Tsuyo understood her intent. But that knowledge brings her only despair. 400 meters is nothing to Arcwade. She's already gotten as close as she needs. Lowering her stance, Tsuyo snaps her sword back into one piece. Satisfied that her rival has finished her preparations, Arcwade lets her arm fall. The blast ray raises everything in its path. Its fury is the planet's own breath, a fraction of the Earth's rotation harnessed and redirected. Tsuyo meets it with her blade and endures. Her body screams. It has been screaming all along, though merely in pain. This time, her very bones are sounding the alarm. You're lucky you survived that, they say. You can't take another. It will annihilate the foundation of your being. Even you can't come back from that.
黙っててよ、分かってから。
She bites her lip to quell her fear, girding herself for the next wave. It wouldn't be hard to evade. She is too nimble to be hit by such a clumsy strike. But behind her are the school and Shiki. The blast wave would sweep across the town like a scythe if she let it, obliterating them in an instant. So she cannot yield no matter what. She must stand against the breadth of the planet and prevail.
すごいすごいシエルすごいねえどうなってるのシエルこれでもちぎれないなんてどこまで耐えられるのシエル
That's a weird thing to be happy about, Arcway. Again and again, the blast waves come without respite. The first she took on account of reckless desperation. The second she takes on account of arrogance. And the third and fourth proved that the second was no show of arrogance after all. By the time the fifth comes, she understands. Arcwade's attacks are formidable, but so long as CL can read the flow of power, she can easily deflect them. The princess employs no feint or subtlety on the battlefield, a testament to her honest nature. CL sensed as much in the first wave. In facing the second, she was able to leverage her swordsmanship to weather it not with strength but with skill. When fighting a powerful foe, her mentor once told her she must think not with her mind, but with her bones. Thanks to that advice, she has withstood Arcwade's full strength. The clock hits 3 minutes. That marks the end of CL's battle. God damn.
つまらない飽きた
Arcwade lowers her arm. The odds would be in her favor if she continued her barrage, but her impatience would not allow it. Her overwhelming desire to kill Shiki compels her to remove CL from her path as quickly as possible. This is only a game to her. All that matters is that it continues to amuse.
そうですかでは僭越ながら次はこちらが趣向を凝らしましょうまあ正直あなたの幕引きなんてしたくもありませんでしたが
The hunter becomes the hunted. Arcway is just as seasoned a vampire hunter as CL. Experience tells her that there is no lie in her enemy's words. She means to deliver a killing blow.
それは楽しみね私の息吹を受けたご褒美に見てあげるでそんなご大層な武器はどこにあるのもしかしてその杭打ち機戦車にでも変形するのまさか武器なんて必要ありませんあなたを殺すのはあなた自身ですよアルクエイドなんですって常に相手を上回るのは結構ですが後出しなのがあなたの弱点ですそれと目も悪いですね地上は把握できても空までは把握できない
Now, why would you tell her that? Arcway looks up at the sky. To find CL in firm grasp of the heavens.
この通り武器はとっくに準備済みです展開に3分もかかるのが欠点ですが控えめに言ってあなたがバカで助かりました
These are no stars glimmering in the firmament, but great mirrors wrought from magecraft, a fiery array of angelic wheels deployed in the stratosphere to capture the sun's light. A work of grand magecraft fashioned by the executor CL from the remains of the ancestor who taught her swordsmanship. Its name.
塵に帰って反省しなさいイデアブラッド25番ベチェ財形を立てカルバリア・ガルガリン
A current of light falls from the heavens. Fast as thought, fast as as light, the guillotine affords Arcboy no quarter. For a split second, she attempts to evade, but its arrival is instantaneous, and all of the city lies beneath its blade. No terrestrial being can escape its judgment, not even the princess of the true ancestors. A white-hot wall smashes the pale vampire into the dirt. A blade of light 50 kilometers long and 10 kilometers broad. It slashes through the town and deep into the ground beneath, crushing Arcboy beneath its uncompromising mass. But lo, tremble before the majesty of the planet. For in the face of grand magecraft, that pinnacle of human wisdom, the Princess of the Moon yet endures. Anticipating that Ciel might produce some weapon powerful enough to overwhelm her, she drew fresh power from the earth. Calvaria is indeed grand magecraft. However, not even this earth-shattering force is enough that Arcboy could be killed by human power is an unthinkable prospect.
でもお前に貴様この程度で私が殺せるわけないでしょう
Arcboy plants her hands in the ground. She rises like a mountain pushing back against the wall of light.
ええ、人間では神のごときものは倒せない。ですから、とどめを刺すのはあなたの仕事です。
The ground begins to move. Cloven in two by the wall of light, one half of the city ascends towards the heavens, while the other sinks into the earth. A fault line gapes between them like the jaws of some great beast.
まさかシエル、あなた言ったでしょ、あなたはあなた自身の重さで殺すと。好きに暴れたかったのでしょうが、この町を自分と同じものに変えた時は笑ってしまいました。バカすぎてこの質量ならもう逃げようがない。あなたをまんべんなくその器ごと破壊してあげましょう。再生に何年かかるか、それともこれで消滅するのか。これまでの自分の行いにすがるのですね。
The planet's maw opens wide, its maxilla rising, and that'll be enough to break her. When it snaps shut, it will annihilate all that she is. There may be nothing left to regenerate or resurrect from. Before her looms a true unknown. For better or worse, she has tasted death before. As astronomically improbable encounter with a passing murderer taught her it stinks. But she knows nothing of this coming oblivion, and in the unknown she finds fear. No, perhaps her terror stems not from ignorance, but from knowledge.
それ怖い。きっと痛くて怖いからお願いやめてし。
Arcboy fights to lift the curtain from her throat. But her fate is sealed. The crust of her own primal earth climbs inexorably skywards, its incalculable mass beyond even her power to oppose.
見苦しい。虫のように潰れなさい。
And at Ciel's command comes crashing down. It's gonna suck for you if she comes back from that. Ciel almost topples over but catches herself, chest heaving. This time, she is truly spent. If she falls now, she won't get back up. In one battle, she not only exhausted herself physically, mentally, and magically, but used up Vlov's idea blood and the 3 years worth of blood reserve she saved for Calvaria's guillotine. She is on the verge of collapse. Ordinarily, she would welcome passing out, but circumstances obliged her to hold on a little longer.
学校に急がないと。
Shiki might as well just run over to her and get her. She can't afford to rest. Even so, she realizes that unless she takes a minute to recover, she won't be going anywhere. Her heart cries for a reprieve, but the swelling of her lungs floods her body with relief. Her muscle fibers knit back together, millimeter by millimeter. Her blood drinks in oxygen. As she stands there panting, the realization that she's still alive washes over her.
やったやってやりました完畜者
Oh man, don't be cheering yet. You're jinxing yourself. In the middle of the street, whole again, as if nothing had transpired, she burst into laughter at her own recklessness, now that her guillotine has fallen. Against all odds, her plan came to fruition. She killed true ancestor royalty. An unprecedented feat. A profound satisfaction fills her battered chest. Even she, a comparative pacifist, recognizes that this is an accomplishment for the ages. If Shiki were here, she would throw her arms around him in celebration.
あとは町が元通りになれば
She successfully foiled Arcwade's attempt to turn the world inside out. With the source of the phenomenon containment gone, normality will soon reassert itself. Well, that's a good sign. But in her giddiness, she overlooks a crucial detail. Oh. As the alabaster castle disintegrates, its constituent particles flow back to Earth, returning to their master. Oh, crap. The Earth seems to groan. Excuse me. A harsh grating sound, like a forbidden seal cracking. The ground trembles, the air thrums. Magical energy gathers on an exorbitant scale. The thermal energy of the phenomena, once contained, now concentrates to the extreme. Excuse me a moment. This could only be called the seed of principle. An entire city's worth of data compressed to plank length. A celestial egg harmless so long as it remains within the conceptual realm of the inner sea. But whose immense energy concentrated in a critical point destabilizes and rapidly expands when manifested in the physical world. The result is known to astronomers as cosmic inflation. It is the birthing cry of the universe. This land will bear witness to a phenomenon beyond microscopic comparison, but identical in nature. You know, if you were to tell me that vampires were this powerful, I wouldn't believe you for a second. But looking how Arcwade is, this is just a hell of a spectacle right now. It is as if the sun itself has fallen to earth. Down comes the corpus of light, soft yet hard, cold yet warm. It is a myth made manifest in matter. Sanity broken, insanity shattered. She regresses to her primordial form, an ultimate one. Ether expands and condenses. Her advent concludes. Under the command of an all-powerful vision, vectorless energy assembles into a form even a human could comprehend.
信じられないさっきまでのはまだ正常だったなんて
Sia would rather have fought the literal sun than this. The loftiest existence mankind can comprehend, if such a thing has a name. Its name is God. She is a living being no longer, but something mightier and more primal.
あれだけ見境をなくしていてまだ暴走していなかったんですかあなたは。
Is that a gigantic hand? All Ciel can do is stand helplessly before her eminence. Her will to fight has deserted her. Her strength is spent, her tricks exhausted, and now even her courage has shorn away. Alright, now we have a Rei Ayanami now going on. Oh my god. Cursed with knowledge, she understands exactly what she faces, and her knees buckle at the thought of it.